The Royals win a huge series north of the border in Toronto against the Blue Jays, and now head to Boston for what we're probably going to say a few different times throughout this year, the biggest series of the season, but it does come up in Boston this weekend. We'll talk about everything right now live here on One Royal Way. We're back at it here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Joel Penfield. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We are live on a Sunday night, as we always are. Al, hopping in the chat right away. Let's flip up on the Red Sox. Man, they're playing good ball right now, though. So this is going to be a really, really tough test. But Toronto, even though they are not playing as good as they were, as of a couple of weeks ago, still a very good team, a team that's leading the AL East, one of the best records in the league. To go up there and win that series is massive for this team, especially given what the Royals did at the trade deadline to try and build some momentum. They bought instead of some other situations in other teams that were of similar standing in the wild card. And somehow, they managed to win this series and buy and continue to add that momentum. So a lot to like here from this series. We'll break down all three games, as we always do probables, talk about some narrative stuff about the Red Sox series and go from there. This show, as always, brought to you by Emprise Bank, member FDIC. Our partners impossible here at Kansas City Sports Network, and on this podcast, we can't thank them enough for that support, allowing us to do this show 3 days a week, couple live shows. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, Chris, just don't get swept in Boston. I don't think they will. This team has really done a very good job, at least in the last couple of weeks. This is the fourth consecutive series that they've won. And in those series, they've thrown some stinkers out there. Like the losses have been like, kind of not real pretty in a lot of scenarios. But this series goes completely different if it was played in the middle of June, Aiden. I agree. Like this team is obviously different from a roster construction at this point. But I think also the mentality of this team is different. This feels more like the 2024 Royals, which is even if they don't win, even if they don't have their best stuff and they don't have their best at-bats, it's still a pain in the ass to play, and you're going to have to play into the final out. Like that was what we saw on Saturday. Like they did not play well, and they didn't deserve to win that game, but they still kept themselves in it. And there were certain scenarios where like, man, one at-bat might turn this. And that's the mark of a good team, being able to keep yourself in it, even if you don't have everything going right for you that day. What we saw at the beginning of the season was a couple things start snowballing downhill, and the game's done in like the fourth inning. And you can just tell. Like, team puts up a 3 spot, the Royals have a chance, second and third, 1 out. They don't cash in anything, the game's done right there. Like, you could just tell certain spots. I still remember an A's game where that happened. B-Patch 25 hopping in here before I get to that. Who are you looking forward to making their Royals debut, Falter or Berger? Both are going to pitch in Boston. That's a good question. I think I'm more interested in Bailey Falter just because there is familiarity there. I don't know. I don't think I mentioned it on the previous show, something I found out after the fact. But when Bailey Falter was in the Phillies organization where he came up and made his debut, his pitching coach one of his pitching coaches in the minor leagues at one of the affiliates was Brian Sweeney. So there is a familiarity there between those two. And one thing that I find incredibly impressive, and it speaks to the level of coaching that the Royals have on the pitching side right now between Sweeney and both, is they can quickly make changes for guys. Like with either adding a pitch or changing pitch usage, very quickly when these guys come into the organization. You can go back to Cole Reagans where it was, hey, man, you need to go down to AAA and add a slider. And they go and do that, and then immediately Cole Reagans became Cole Reagans for a year and a half. Michael Lorenzen, when he came over, it was, okay, less fastball, more sinker, more slider, less fastballs with 2 strikes. Let's work on breaking stuff. Let's throw 6-7 pitches at guys and get guys out. And he's done some of the best pitching in his career in Kansas City since coming over. Seth Lugo has added to his repertoire to continue, building on that. Michael Wacha as a an established veteran, added a slider and a cutter last year, to go along with the sinker and the curve and the changeup. So they do a very good job of maximizing what guys can do, and also finding little ways to make guys better, whether it's tweaking the repertoire, whether it's tweaking the percentage of pitches thrown in certain areas. They're able to do that. Bailey Falter is, the fastball is really what makes it work for him, because he has the elite extension and good metrics with induced vertical break and spin, even though the fastball is like 91, 92, kind of like Chris Bubich. So I wonder if they're going to be able to work with him to mirror a Chris Bubich type repertoire with maybe a slider sweeper change in addition to the fastball, and see what they're able to work with the off speed. Ryan Berger has a lot more electric stuff. He's more into the upper 90s, with some solid breaking stuff. So I'm curious what they end up doing with him. But I think between the two, it's Falter, just because of the familiarity that Brian Sweeney has with him. Let's go. We'll go ahead and get into the series breakdown here and recap. The game on Friday was really fun because the Royals jumped out pretty early in this one, and it didn't look like it in the first inning. I mean, Kevin Gossman was, he's heavy fastball split. That's his entire thing. A little bit of a show me slider, but predominantly it's fastball split. And really it's throwing the fastball to get to the splitter and not the other way around. And he had Jonathan India just completely fooled, like 3 straight fastballs down the middle with no splitter. It was like, oh boy. Bobby didn't have a great, he put a good swing on a ball, obviously unlucky, and then Vinny punches out. It's like, oh boy. I don't know if they're going to be in for it today. And then Waka gets the first 2 hitters, and Lucas and Loperfido, no problem. Vladdy just turns and burns on a sinker. And it wasn't even really in a bad spot, down and in. And he just hit the crap out of it. It's like, oh boy. Well, after that first, bottom, I don't know. We'll see what they have. And then second inning, Mike Hill comes up, gets a single, a Linfield single. And then Mike Yastrzemski, in the lineup, first game for Kansas City, hits 2-run homer right there. I mean, that was welcome to the team, welcome to Kansas City, and then it just instant impact from one of your new guys that helps lengthen this lineup. And they came out and they had him hitting 6 behind Salvi. And when you look at that 1 through 6, it's Jonathan India, Bobby Wood Jr., Vinny Pasquantino, Michael Garcia, Salvador Perez, Mike Yastrzemski. And I know Yastrzemski is not necessarily the dude he was a handful of years ago, but he's still a very solid player. That 1 through 6 is pretty nice. And then you can add in some combination of Randall Grichuk, Tyler Tolbert, Adam Frazier, Kyle Isbell, John Rave, kind of in that 7 through 9. Luke Maley, when he plays, will probably be down closer to that spot. But that lineup lengthens quite a bit, just adding in a guy like Yastrzemski. With his on base, got some pull side power. He'll work a good plate appearance. Did not have a great game on Saturday, but still worked some counts in those games. The strikeouts got to him a little bit, but he's not a big strikeout guy, so I'm not incredibly concerned there. But obviously, you get that instant impact from Yaz. Okay, now we go. That was a really nice stretch for him. And then you come right back around in the third inning, and they bumped Gossman. Right there, Kyle Isbell singles, Jonathan India doubles at second and third. Nobody out, and Bobby nukes a ball to left field, 108 off the bat, 417 feet. And just like that, 5-1. When it looked like early on, who knows, what the Royals offense is going to be. And it's kind of, what was it? Pretty much this entire season up until July, the Royals didn't hit a lot of home runs. I mean, I think they had Vinny and Bobby and Salvi in double digits, and that was it. And nowhere, and no one else was really that close after that. But now Vinny has gotten to 18, Bobby's got 18, Salvi's got 20, Michael's got 10 now. They've been hitting the ball out of the ballpark a lot more in July, and the offense has been better because of it. They are not a offense that needs to be predicated on that and look to turn and burn all the time, because it's just not necessarily who they are. But adding that in makes the offense better because it allows for less variance with runners in scoring position and less relying on, hey, just trying to serve a ball to right field, or just, hey, got to put one in play. Hope the BABIP gods are in my favor. Not just hit it over the fence. It helps. And obviously in this situation it did. And, the offense continued here. Salvi gets his 19th home run of the season. And then Adam Frazier, of all people, goes and gets one later. You end up winning 9-3. Addison Barger hit a 2-run shot late in this one. But it was all for naught at that point. You had a scenario where, it was 9-1. They brought out my Thomas Hatch, go Pokes, by the way. And at that point, it was just like, hey, just mop this thing up for us. And he ultimately did, and then was promptly DFA'd after the game. Game go sneaky feisty? Yeah. I mean, Lee 87 are the Royals sneaky feisty. This feels more like the 2024 version of the Royals that were a pain to play. They were going to fight to the end. They were going to pitch their ass off. They're going to run all over you. They're going to put balls in play and make stuff happen. Last, two to 3 games in the series, you saw a lot of that. On Friday, Michael Wacha shoved. He was fantastic. And he gives up the home run to Vladdy. But after that, man, there was almost nothing. Almost no traffic at all. Only scatters 2 more hits after that. Got in a little bit of trouble in the 8th inning, but gets out of that with no problem. 5 strikeouts, no walks. So the walks didn't kill him. He's had that problem at times this year. But nothing to be concerned about there, and he gives you 8 and saves your bullpen. Aiden, how much has your confidence increased on this team making the playoffs? I do feel a little bit better about their ability to do it. I am not fully sold that, yes, this is a playoff team, but I do think buying is the front office and ownership confident that you can make a run, and that sort of confidence then permeates to the roster of, instead of, hey, shoot, man, I don't know if we're going to, who's going to be here on Thursday, right, leading up to the trade deadline. And then instead you extend Seth Lugo and you add Bailey Falter, Berger, Stephen Kolek, and Yaz to this team. And it's like, oh, we're going for it. This front office thinks we're okay, now we go. And so I think it's one of those confidence things that, you hope can snowball. I believe the Royals, they were around like a 12 or 13%. They're still about 13.5% to make the playoffs. So there's still a lot that needs to happen. They need to rip off a serious winning streak or serious hot stretch. They've won 7 to 10, but they have to keep that going. And playing this Boston series is a big part of that. Like, can you go in and at least sneak 1, maybe 2? Back to Michael Wacha before we need to hit a break. Again, he was fantastic. And he has been about as steady as it gets since he came to Kansas City. I mean, it is unbelievable what he's been able to do. And just, he's going to get you through 5 at worst. For the most part, 6. He's not going to give up a ton of runs. That he's not going to, allow a ton of traffic. He does a very good job of just knowing, hey, let's just get a 1 pitch out here and get out of here. I mean, it's an incredibly valuable guy to have, and valuable from the money perspective. I know that it sounds wild to talk about $17 million being a bargain, but what Michael Wacha provides for this team, I mean, $17 million is cheap relative to what he could make. I wonder what his contract would look like if he did not sign with Kansas City. Would he have gotten around that or more? I wouldn't be shocked. But for what he is producing in addition to what the Royals are getting, it's remarkable. There's a metric on Fangraphs called the WAR to dollars, and it takes into account, wins above replacement, and then it makes it into like basically how much is this season worth, roughly. It, in addition to WAR, is not an exact science. It's an approximation. Just gives you a talking point, right? He's been worth 2.4 FWAR this season, which is worth about $19 million from a starting pitcher. So you're getting incredible value from Michael Wacha at $17 million, and he is producing more than that. Last year, he was a over 3-win pitcher worth about $26 million, and you signed him for $17. And at that point, he was making, I think it was 11 or 12 million on that one-year deal with the player option. So if he's going to keep this up, I mean, the value of the contract you're getting, at least within these first 2 years, makes it worth it to begin with. just an incredible performance, and you hope that you can continue to keep it up in the absence of Reagans and Bubic, and just continue to anchor this rotation because he's done that for the most part this season. We'll talk about the next 2 games of the series right after this break.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Folks, nothing beats hanging out with the boys on a hot summer day and watching some baseball. And the simplest way that you all can get in on the action is to download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It is crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And the best part is Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and then use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Sure to hit that like button and subscribe button. We appreciate everybody hanging out here that is live in the chat. As always, here on a Sunday night, thank you very much for doing so. If you are an audio-only listener, please come over to this side and hang out here. All right, Chris hopping in the chat here as always. Any concern with Lugo? He's had a rough couple of starts. His pitch count got up pretty quickly. I thought he pitched really well against Atlanta, and that 5th inning kind of got away from him with the 2 hangers. Other than that, I'm fine today. The walks kind of got to him a little bit, but for the most part, I wasn't too concerned about it. He's still where did he get you into the 6th? He got you into the 5th. Pitch count was a little high today, but I'm not losing sleep over it. He kept the Royals in the game, only gave up the 2 runs. So for me, it's fine. I'm not too worried about it. The peripherals for him are not great, but he also kind of negates some, or that doesn't matter as much with the way that he pitches. He's not a guy that's reliant on the strikeout, so his numbers are always going to look a little bit weird because it's not always what you look for in a modern pitcher, I guess also what I'll put it that way. So overall, no, but something to monitor, certainly. If we're being completely honest, there was not a ton to talk about from the game on Saturday. 0 for 5 runners in scoring position. Bobby goes 0 for 4 with a strikeout, and a strikeout in a really bad spot. He had a really rough game. You're not going to win many games when India, he gets a hit to start the game, but then he gets hit in his next at bat and leaves the game. So then you're having to sub in Nick Lofton, who's fine, but I don't necessarily want him leading off and playing in these situations. Bobby goes 0 for 4. Vinny goes 0 for 4. Michael goes 0 for 4. Salvi goes 2 for 4. He gets the home run, which is 293. Gave him his 9th 20-plus home run season, which is the most in franchise history. So just, another notch in his belt. Yaz goes 0 for 4 with 3 punchies. Just a bad offensive game. Isbell gives you 2 hits, and that's great, but it wasn't enough. Noah Cameron pitched fine. I wasn't overly impressed, but he gives you he still got you into the 7th inning. He got knocked around a little bit early. Not a ton of strikeouts, not a ton of swing and miss. That is something that against better lineups we're going to see more of. He's just not that type of pitcher. Not a bad thing. It's not inherently bad. It's not it sounds like it's a negative connotation. It's not. He's just not a pitcher that's going to strike a lot of dudes out. He kind of falls in line more in the Waco Lugo realm of pitcher than the Bubic and Reagans types that are able to hunt strikeouts a little bit more. Not who he is. He gets the 1, but that was about it. The big news coming out of this game was Steven Cruz. He faces a couple of batters, throws a couple of fastballs. He gets fastball up in 98, 99, but then immediately he looks at Salvi, and Salvi looks at him, and Salvi calls the trainer immediately, like something's not right. And Cruz leaves with the trainer. It's a right shoulder impingement, which sucks. I mean, he has been, obviously you wonder how long he's been dealing with this, because he's had a couple outings where things seriously were not going right for him. The command was really bad. And so you wonder, what's going on, because he had been so good for so long and the command had been so good. So that's probably part of it. It sucks. He had really established himself in the bullpen. Now it doesn't hurt as bad because Hunter Harvey's come back and looked solid. So it's not like you're really only down to 2 legitimate high leverage arms. You still have the 3 with Harvey, Ursig and Estevez. But you need someone else to step up. He's going to be a John Schreiber. It's going to have to be an Angel Serpa, maybe a Daniel Lynch, though I'm still, iffy on him in certain situations. But that's what it's going to have to be, because there's not many other reinforcements right now. That's why I kind of wanted them to go and get a bullpen arm. Maybe that's what Stephen Kolek ends up being as we move forward here, because he went to Omaha. He's been a starter, but I think there's maybe more reliever profile in there. We'll see, but maybe just as for depth as of now, with Berger and Falter going into the rotation, maybe Kolek goes to the bullpen, and stuff ticks up a little bit and you go from there. That's just one avenue I could see them using. How many of these injured guys are we realistically looking at being healthy for the final push of the season? Shoulders are tricky. Bubic is obviously done. I am not holding my breath on Cole Reagans. I want him to be healthy, and I want him to be able to pitch in September and October if they need him to. But I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh yeah, this is, we're banking on him to come back. That's why they went and got Falter and Berger, right? And Kolek, so that they had some insurance in case for not only now, but for next year with Bubic and Reagans. Reagans being a 2-time TJ guy with now a rotator cuff, and then Bubic being a TJ guy with now a rotator cuff. Like, those injuries are tricky to come back from. So I don't know. Cruz it's a shoulder. I don't know. Sometimes those impingements, it can be super quick. Other times it can linger for quite a while. So I don't know exactly what it's going to be. So, we'll see. But again, that's why they went to address the depth that they did at the deadline. I know we all wanted a couple of bats, but pitching matters, and pitching depth matters significantly. And the Royals don't have a ton of that depth in the upper minors right now. A lot of their talent and like the high ceiling talent on the pitching side are in like AA and lower. So it makes it a little bit trickier to make it through a full season when you have guys that just aren't ready yet for the big leagues. You lose this game 4-2. Unfortunately, just a part of the inconsistency of this team. You have one great offensive performance and then a clunker against, Max Scherzer. It's not the same Max Scherzer, but 41-year-old Max Scherzer, still a very good pitcher and better than a very large percentage of Major League Baseball. But you bounce back today in a game that if they played this game on June 6th, they probably lose 2-1. And we're having a very different conversation. Instead, you win this game 7-4. You get 5 runs in extra innings to help secure this. I mean, this is a moment. This could be one of those sort of momentum building wins. Because early on, it looked like, I don't know what they have, kind of similar to that first inning. Like, India walks, and that's great. And then Bobby comes up, hits a ball right at Bo Bichette. He boots it. So then it's first and second, nobody out. Vinny's coming up. Vinny's been great with runners in scoring position for a while now. And he comes up and promptly hits him into a double play, and Michael grounds out, and that's it. It's like, oh, well, felt like that was a really good chance. And then not much happened, really. Yaz gets a sack fly, which was good to see. Kind of bounces back a little bit from the outing that he had on Saturday. And so then it's 1-1. Joey Loperfido comes up in the fifth. That ended Lugo's day. So it's 2-1. Kind of wonder, okay, what are they going to be able to get done here? Is there going to be enough here? And Bassett just had them in knots at various times throughout this game. Command was not awesome from him, but he only gave up the one hit. Like that was it. It was one hit and one earned in this game. It's a repertoire that the Royals have a really hard time with. It's guys that it's two things. Either guys that throw like a very highly graded, metrically graded fastball, meaning it's one of those high velo, high vert fastballs. Like they struggle with that. Most teams do, but the Royals do specifically. Or it's guys that are kind of in the mold of like a Seth Lugo or a Michael Wacha that are in the low 90s and they can sink it, cut it, move it all around the zone with like 2 or 3 different breaking balls and just has them in knots. But that's why there's value in that sort of mold as a pitcher. And Bassett is just one of those that's a tough guy to barrel up because he moves it all over the place. He manipulates the fastball well. The curveball and sweeper are really slow compared to the fastball. He's able to kind of get you in a rocking chair, and then it's tough from there. Just a tough outing there overall. But if they get him out of the game in the 6th, they threw a bunch of pitches, early on in this one. He ends up getting to 91 pitches, same as Lugo through 6. And then with 2 outs in the 8th, off of Lewis Varland, Bobby gets a double, finally got out to Schneid. He had a bad series outside of the home run, leading up to that moment. So good to see him get off there. And then Vinny jumps on a fastball, lines it up the middle, 2-2, and Harvey and Ursig shut it down in the 8th and the 9th. We go to extra innings, and this is where they just jumped on Sir Anthony Dominguez. Kyle Isbell, of all people, he comes up, and you're thinking, runner on second, what's Kyle Isbell going to do? Well, he's probably going to bunt, move the runner to third, and then we got, runner on third, 1 out, top of the order coming up. Instead, he ambushes a fastball, rips it down the line. He's, it was Grishik who scores. So then he got just replacing the runner, second, nobody out. And I wanted to see them just get one more because as we learned, unfortunately, it didn't end up mattering. But that second run as the road team in extras is massive because it makes that runner, the Manford runner that's out there to start the inning irrelevant. Like that run does not matter. So run at the plate makes you focus a little bit differently. But then India gets hit by a pitch and Bobby walks, bases loaded for Tyler Tolbert, who was pinch hitting or who was in the game because he pinch ran for Vinny late in the game trying to get an extra run there in the 8th. It ultimately didn't matter. So this is one of those spots where it's kind of tricky. Yeah, Isbell's hitting 260. All I'm told is that he's a bum and he's terrible. And, that's all you see from people half the time. But he's a valuable big leaguer. And they don't ask it. The barrier to entry for him offensively is very low. It's just don't be a disaster, hit your weight when we need you to, and play great defense and run the bases well. Like just do the little things well. And he does that, and it makes him a very valuable player. I'm not saying he is like he should be your long-term center fielder. But for what they have asked of him over the last couple of years as a center fielder, it works. And he has done a lot better offensively over this, last, few games. Come up in some big spots and come through, and there's credit to be done there. But Tolbert comes up, and I know what we were all thinking. Okay, we were all thinking it. And he ropes the ball to right center and scores 2 runs. say what you will about Tyler Tolbert and like where he should be in the big leagues and all that. There's definitely positional value with him being able to play 6 different positions. He's shown now he can hit his weight a little bit if you need him to play once a week. Pinch run opportunities when they need him. My buddy Alex Duvall had the comp that he is in between Gerard Dyson and Terrence Gore, and I think that is a perfect assessment. He is not Terrence Gore, which is you're only there to run, and we cannot trust you to do literally anything else. And he's not Gerard Dyson, which is near an everyday player. Right, like he's kind of falls in there where like once, twice a week you need him to play a different position. Late game, come in. Maybe we get you an at bat if we really need it in an instance like this. But if not, once a week you'll play. And there's, he probably can be a guy that hovers around a slightly above replacement level in 170 plate appearances over a big league season and be a valuable asset. And he's your last guy off the bench for the most part. But that's where, when you're a team like the Royals, you need 1 through 26 to be there and be valuable for you. And he provides that. And he did, obviously, in this game, getting that second, third run. And they ended up getting a couple more runs. Alejandro Kirk tried back-picking Bobby Witt Jr. when the third baseman was not on the base. That was weird. But you get an extra run, we take those. And then Michael sack fly. Estevez got knocked around a little bit in that inning. Not awesome, but he's kind of got some Greg Holland to him. Like, he's either going to absolutely just shut it down really quick with no problem, or we're going to be sweating it out. Now, thankfully, getting 5 runs made it a little less sweaty. Still didn't love it. But you end up getting out of there with a win, and you win the series. So, hats off to the team for rallying. This felt like a 2024 team, which is they are just going to they're going to try and find a way, however the case, they're going to keep themselves in it. And then your superstars are your superstars. Bobby comes through, gets the big hit. Vinny comes through with a hit. And then you just pile on, a solid reliever there in the 10th and just put it away. And Toronto has not been as good as they were in June and the early part of July. They're still a very good team. They're going to be there in October. They're going to be a tough out for anybody. But to hang with them in the series was a little bit of a litmus test. And the Royals passed it. They showed, we can hang around some. With what we have right now, we can hang with these teams. And we can be, a team that, is going to be a pain to play down the stretch. Now we get to the biggest series of the year to this point with the Boston Red Sox at Fenway. Your pitching matchups, Bailey Falter and Brian Bayo on Monday night. These are all going to be 6:10 first pitches, Kaufman time, whatever you want to say. On Tuesday, that's where we're going to get Ryan Bergert, and he's going up against Garrett Crochet. That's going to be a tough one because we know what Crochet did to Kansas City in it was May or June. At that point, that one's going to be real tough. Makes the Monday game a lot more important. And then Wednesday, it's going to be Michael Wacha against the newly acquired Dustin May, who is disgusting, and I love watching him pitch, but he has been susceptible. He gets susceptible to getting lit up, despite exploding sinkers and frisbee sliders and some of the nastiest stuff in the league, but can't quite hone it in. ERA near 5. Pitching a little bit more of an offensive-friendly environment at Fenway. We'll see what they got. I think this feels like it could be a 2 or 3. Like, if Falter pitches well, they're going to have a shot to win on Monday and steal that game before you have to face Garrett Crochet. Because I'm admittedly, pessimistic or whatever, chalking up Tuesday to being a Red Sox win where Garrett Crochet goes 7 or 8 shut with 10 strikeouts. Like, and that's more to do with how good Garrett Crochet is than the Royals. Like, Garrett Crochet is one of the best pitchers in the league. What should we expect from Cags when he comes back? That's a really good question. I wonder how much he's been able to kind of learn and reflect, on this first part of his career. Because, and I talked about it a little bit at the deadline when the news dropped they acquired Yastrzemski. What does that mean for Cags? One, I think it means John Rave is probably going to go back down. Like, I think you bet way more upside. They're going to bet on the upside that Caglione has in the lineup most days as opposed to John Rave. And I like John Rave. He had that awesome 5-game stretch coming out of the All-Star break, but it's just not an everyday big league profile. And they're kind of needing him to be right now, but I don't think he's part of that. I don't think that's going to be something that you can bet on moving forward. And maybe having Yastrzemski and Frazier and a few more veteran guys that lengthen the lineup, Grichuk as well. Maybe that takes even more pressure off of him. He can hit him 7th or 8th and just, dude, go mash. Like, we don't need much else. Just go mash homers. Dudes are on base in front of you. Drive them in. Like, we don't need you to be the savior. The offense has turned a corner here in July. We just need you to be better. Like, just be better than you were, make more contact, elevate more balls, and probably DH him a little bit more because you have Yaz, you have Grichuk. I'd imagine he plays some first. He's in DH. They'll move him around, I imagine. I don't know if he's going to play every day, even though I think he probably should just from a development perspective. But we'll see. I could see him getting a rehab game. Hamstrings are tricky. You don't want him to rush him back and put him right back into the big leagues, and then it all of a sudden starts barking again. Yeah, a little Digny sesh in Omaha. Hit a couple homers. All right, we're back. We're good to go. And then all set, and we'll see what he's able to provide down the stretch. I mean, if everything clicks for him, things could really start moving in a good direction for Kansas City because of what he provides offensively. Left-handed power and just a dude that's liable to go deep at any moment. You see what it does for the A's with Kurtz, right? Like, that guy, once it clicked for him, it really started moving. And he had similar sort of like hit tool, some of those hitters, not as drastic as Cags, but there was still a little bit of that when you think about like a first base only type that's a lot of power and some swing and miss. You kind of wonder. You also there was also to consider when it comes to like the Kurtz Cags thing, the offensive environment that Nick Kurtz is playing in for the most part. The bandbox minor league stadium versus Cags playing at Kauffman, which it leans hitter friendly, but not home run power friendly. It's just part of it. But I am excited to see him get back, and you add him into this lineup, and you can have a lineup of, India, Bobby, Vinny, Michael, Salvi, Yaz, Grichuk, Cags, Isbell. I mean, that is a hell of a lineup for what the Royals, compared to what the Royals were running out there a couple months ago. Massive, massive difference. So we'll see what they got. I haven't seen a timeline for Cags yet. Let me see if I can get an update for you guys just on the injury front with some of these guys. I saw that Cags was running some defensive stuff the other day, according to the injury report. Okay. So as of July 31st, Cags was able to hitting live ABs, but is not introduced running into a rehab program yet. So he's hitting and he's throwing and playing a little bit of defense, but he's not running yet. Mid-August is the projected return, so we'll see, what he has there. Cole Reagans is expected back late August, continued to stay on track in his progression. So kind of a no news is good news situation with him. Mark Canna is still dealing with like the tennis elbow thing, but he began throwing and hitting last week, but I imagine he's going to end up being a roster casualty sooner rather than later when he does come back. Let's see if there's anything on Steven Cruz that I can. He's headed back to Kansas City for further evaluation. We'll determine severity timeline here soon. So I imagine going into the game tomorrow, we'll find out that. Michael Lorenzen threw a 5 up and down BP session at Kauffman on July 31st. Rehab assignment coming up this week, so more pitching depth. Now that's going to make the everything really interesting from a perspective of like what they're going to do with him. Like, they move him to the bullpen and then run with the rotation of Cameron, Waka, Lugo, Falter, and Berger. We'll see. Curtis, should Massey shut down for the season? Yeah. I mean, it's just not – obviously the production on the field wasn't there, but it was initially an ankle injury, and then he goes in on the rehab assignment. He gets hit on the wrist. That messes up. Then he got sick, and then now the back is flaring up. Like at this point, just get healthy. Just take time away, man. Like it sucks because I like him, but the injuries are just becoming too big of a storyline for me to believe that there's anything in there for him as a big leaguer. Rosie to go 5-day game winning streak to have a much better chance. Yeah, like they have to rip off a serious stretch here soon. And if they're able to do that, then that we'll see that percentage increase. But if they just stay kind of here, then we're talking about a 500 ball club, and that's not going to do it. You got to get somewhere to like 85, 86 wins. So, and let me see where Fangraphs has them projected at about 81 and 81. So where can you find 4 or 5 more wins on the outside of that projection to increase that, to get to 85, 86 like you were last year and put yourself in a wild card spot? That's going to be the test, is where are they going to be able to win some games that they probably have no business winning and go from there. So that's going to be the hardest part of this for Kansas City. But we'll see what they have, and if they're able to get through the next couple of games. This series is obviously huge. If you go out and you win 2 or 3 in this series, and you start this road trip 4-2, going to play Minnesota, who just punted on the season and nuked their team, place to build some confidence before coming back home. Excuse me, and we'll see what they have. I'm obviously it's way more exciting. This is pretty fun, and we'll see what Bailey Falter has tomorrow. I'm excited to watch him pitch in Kansas City and see what Sweeney and Bove have cooked up for him and Berger. I will record an episode that y'all will see on Wednesday morning, on Tuesday night after the game is over. I'll record that, and then Thursday will be a normal record day. Let me check the schedule here because I just want to make sure that I have everything here in the correct place. Because I think it's a 4-gamer in Toronto, or not Toronto, Minnesota. But I just want to confirm that. Forgive me for looking this up. You would think I would know this, but I don't. Nope, it's only a 3-game set, so it's a 9-game rotation. So normally 30 Central recording on Thursday, recap the series, preview the series against Twins, and we'll have some fun then. Toast game to Michael Wacha for his 8-inning 1-run performance on Friday. And also toast game to Salvador Perez for getting home runs 292 and 293, that much closer to 300, and setting the franchise record for most 20 home run seasons in a career with the Royals. So toast game to those two, and we will talk later this week. Have a great one, everybody. Go Royals, and let's see what they got against the Red Sox.